In this video, I want to talk about the top 5 things that could go wrong in your residential assisted living home or your care home. These are all from my experiences, things that I've actually gone through. So if you guys are interested, make sure to stick around. What's up, everyone? I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Serge. Welcome to the channel. To all my reoccurring viewers, guys, thank you so much for all the love and support that each and every single one of you have shown me. And as many of you guys already know, I do have the podcast, the God Made podcast, that you guys can go check out, where I talk more about my personal life, the different experiences that I've gone through. That way you guys can actually resonate with me on a more personal level, and also hopefully to inspire each and every one of you to get started on your journey, whether it's to start anything that I've started, anything that you guys have your heart set on. Regardless, hopefully it's something that will help you. Also, feel free to go check out the program, which I will be updating here probably before springtime is my goal, to update it completely, to renovate the entire program. So for all the students that I currently have, I'm very thankful for each and every one of you. So go check it out if you guys want to join. And then also, if you guys have not yet, feel free to go check out the Facebook group that I've created. Just click down on the link. It will take you guys to all these different things that I have, all my social media links, everything that you guys may want to actually check out. So feel free to go do that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and actually jump into the topic of the video. The top 5 things in a residential assisted living home that happens is pretty common. It's nothing that is out of the ordinary. There are a few of the exceptions that happen, but these are just top 5 that I've probably have happened, or from other care homeowners that I've talked to, happened to them before. So let's go ahead and jump into number 1. Number 1 is the medication error. Medication errors do happen quite often because we are humans and we do have flaws, and sometimes we overlook something or don't look into something in a certain period of time of getting like a doctor's order. There are times where, as caregivers and certain caregivers that you may have, sometimes just forget to look at the order because they have other residents that they're taking care of, and they just forget. That is the top thing that actually happens in a care home, is a medication error. And regardless of what the error is with the medication, that is the number 1 thing that happens. The second thing that actually happens in a care home is a resident fall, or an incident happens with a resident. It may be a fall, it may be an argument with another resident or with their family. Something may actually happen with the resident that actually leads to an incident, and so therefore you have to actually write up an incident report on that. And sometimes it could be just as simple as them hurting themselves some way, in shape or form. They end up hurting themselves, and that is pretty common in most care homes. And here in the state of Arizona, you actually there's a regulation that we aren't allowed to have any type of restraints, meaning no bed rails, nothing of that sort, to prevent a resident from rolling onto the floor or falling onto the floor. So in a sense, you have to allow the resident to fall on the floor, which would, in a sense, lead to an incident and an incident report. And so that is the second most common or worst thing that could happen in a home. And sometimes it's just really minor, and sometimes it's actually really bad. A resident may actually end up hitting their head. If you have like tile or hardwood floors on the ground, they may end up breaking something, hitting their heads, having a bleed, etc. So it could lead to a potential worse scenario, and that's why you got to be very careful, and that's why you got to watch them as often as you possibly can. At least every 2 hours, check up on have your caregivers check up on your residents, or you check up on your residents if you're at the home. But just be aware of where all the residents are at all times, so that way you know what's going on. And over time, if you have a resident for a long period of time, you'll know their routine and you'll know where they need to be at certain periods of the day. So with that, let's go ahead and go into number 3. Number 3, usually it comes down to an employee or employees if you have multiple employees. What happens usually, worst case scenario and type of the is no-shows. No-shows are literally the most stressful things when it does happen, or when an employee just ends up and quits on you, and you're, as a care homeowner, stuck there at the home and having to cover those shifts as a caregiver And it happens. I mean, I had to do it. I've had to do it. I'm currently doing it. Actually, not currently doing it, because I will actually give you guys an update on everything that's happened to the business since I fired my employee and only had one resident. But everything is fine now. Thank God. All the glory to him. But regardless, though, employees do end up leaving and they do end up quitting. And there's not much you can do about that other than to start to fill those shifts, and then also to start looking for new caregivers and start, hiring and interviewing, everything that you need to do in order to get a new employee in. So that's number three. Number three is employees. Number four is a family complaint, or some type of complaint filed against you. That happens. Some families are more strict than others, and their standards are through the roof. Their standards are just absurd. So they end up filing a complaint against you because you didn't live up to their standard of care or their standard of how you should do things in your care home. And so that is number four. That hasn't personally happened to me, knock on wood, and I don't hope for that ever. I don't like having any type of complaints filed against me. And I think in this industry, there's going to be people who file complaints against you for all kinds of different things without you do your best to cater to them and to make sure that they're taken care of. But sometimes, things do slip through the cracks, and you do have to just roll with the punches, as the saying goes. So that's number four. As far as number five, usually number five, top worst thing is vacancies. Vacancies will either make or break your business, because the longer you have a vacancy, those are days that you're losing money. Those are months that you're losing money, and you can't afford that, especially when you have all these different expenses that add up from your mortgage or your rent, or if your home's paid off, you will have the bills, just the regular bills, and then on top of that, everything you have to do in order to run the business. So number five is vacancies, and that is something that I deal with, not as often as many other people deal with, but it does happen, and it has happened, as a lot of you guys know from a video I made a few weeks ago with my life update video. I talk about the vacancies that I have and about filling them and having to put in the extra time and work to fill them. And that's part of my duty as a manager and owner of a care home. If you do have a manager, that's going to be their duty to get those beds filled. But if you are your own manager, you have to do your part to make sure that you get those beds filled. So make sure that you're out there. I mean, I don't know how many videos about filling your beds and how to avoid vacancies. You can do your best. You're going to have them just like any other business. You're going to have your times where business is really slow and business is really good. And that is the way of the world. That's how it works. That's the real world. You will encounter that, but just weather through it, because everything will end up being just fine. So just to recap on everything, top five is: number one is medication errors. Number two is resident incidents, or having to file incidents reports because of certain situations that come up at the home. Number three is employees. That does happen, employees, but just understand that once you do find a great employee, make sure that you pay them well, make sure that you treat them well, make sure that you're fair with them, and that you're a good employer. And then you won't have any types of issues moving forward. And then number four, with the complaints, just make sure that you keep the families in the loop with everything that happens at the home, regardless of what happens. Even if something does happen with their loved one, make sure you let them know. You tell them, hey, this is what's happened, this is how we're going to fix it, this is how we're going to deal with it, this is how it's not going to happen again, or how you guys are going to prevent that thing going on. And then just make sure that you guys always stay in contact with them. Send them updates every week. Hey, this is how your loved one is doing. I just want to follow up with you, make sure that you're aware of this and this and that. And if they're the ones doing all the medications, refilling the medications, just make sure that you keep them in the loop with everything. Don't be afraid to reach out to them and let them know what's going on, because at the end of the day, they do want to be involved, and the more involved that you get them in to your home, and it just becomes like a big family. So you do want that. You don't want to just avoid them and keep them out of the loop, and that's how you avoid complaints, as long as they're aware of what's going on. And then number 5, to avoid vacancies, always just make sure that you find the right residents to place into your home. Make sure they fit into your home, and that you guys are able to actually take care of them, and that they're in your scope of practice with your licensure. And overall, just make sure that you're not constantly getting actively dying residents where you have a high turnaround with vacancies. And you'll learn the ropes as you are in the business more, and that is why I have this channel, to hopefully help you guys with all of this. So if you guys found this video informative, make sure that you guys hit that like button. Also, make sure that you guys go check out the God Made podcast. You guys can find them on Spotify, all Apple Podcasts, all the different streaming platforms that you guys can think of. And then also just make sure that you guys go check out the Academy if you have not yet. I do have some things in the work that I will eventually actually announce, but once it's all finalized, I will announce it. So as of right now, it's still all in the works. And on top of that, make sure that you guys also subscribe if you have not yet, and then also go check out all these other videos. I will have a playlist up there for you guys. And again, thank you so much for all the love and support on this channel, and I will see you all in the next video. God bless.